there! My name is Sarah Pay. I am going to be answering some questions that are posted on my Facebook page for dog owners or anybody that has any questions about dogs. My first question is from Chad Reese. He's up working at Suncor right now. He was a journeyman pipe fitter that I worked with back when I worked as a first-year apprentice. And his question is, my neighbor's dog won't shut up. They bark and they bark well into the night. Will bear spray work or a pellet gun? What do you recommend? Now, I think this is an excellent question to bring up because I know there are so many people out there that are dealing with this situation all the time. It really is a menace to have dogs barking, especially because the sound is comparable to listening to a jackhammer. So it isn't healthy for the dog, and it isn't healthy for the people that have to listen to it. Unfortunately, there really isn't much we can do to prevent and stop the barking of our neighbors' dogs. That's something the neighbors have to address and work on. Dogs don't learn from consequences, so no, Chad, you can't use a pellet gun or bear spray to stop the barking. It might work temporarily to scare them and put them off a little bit, but it really doesn't get to the root cause of why the dog is barking. Psychologically, dogs are very similar to their ancestors, the gray wolf. They're 99.9% wolf. However, that 1% DNA difference is very different. And the major difference is that domestic dogs, follow human leaders, whereas wolves follow pack wolf leaders. So it's so important that people that take on the responsibility of having a dog recognize this and understand that a lot of the traits that wolves had are very similar. This being one of them, the desire to protect property and territory. Barking is often a bluff to warn trespassers that they are there, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to protect their territory. To eliminate this issue, you really need to work with setting the boundaries in your yard, in your home. Have a kennel system in your home where when they're inside they have a place to go to sleep. Now, expecting the dogs to be calm and well balanced and behaved and staying in their kennel or staying in the boundaries that you set for them, you absolutely must provide them with the essential exercise. This is I can't emphasize enough how important this is, and so many people think that a backyard will cut it, and it's just simply not adequate exercise. I personally feel it's really cruel of people to leave dogs locked up in backyards. I think that it's a little bit lazy, or maybe people don't know, they don't have the education to know that this isn't a great way to raise your dog. I think they think that, okay, well, the dog's gone to the bathroom, I don't have to worry about taking him for a walk. This is really unfair because dogs absolutely need to be walked and have the chance to carry out their primal interaction of following the leader and feeling like they belong to a pack. It is their chance to explore and interact with other social animals such as people. Well, we're not animals, but people and dogs. When you don't properly train your dog to function in your home, in the yard, on the walk, or in any social circumstance, it's really unfair, because then they will never feel accepted or belong to the group. So much like children, we need to teach them the boundaries and the rules and how to communicate and how to exist in our world. And leaving dogs in the yard just isn't going to do that. When left alone, dogs often will become unbalanced and afraid. It keeps them in this unbalanced state where neurotic behaviors and pretty much any behavioral issue is going to come up. And yeah, domestic dogs are genetically programmed to follow a human leader, so it's really important to understand that jailing them in a backyard does not provide the structure or proper walk, and it's not fair. If you are experiencing this issue with your neighbors, the best thing you can do is contact your local bylaw officer. They can issue tickets. Now, Chad mentioned that his neighbors have been fined by the bylaw officer twice, but nothing has changed. He says that he loves these dogs, but they are driving him crazy because of the barking and the pooing in the yard, and it's going to be a nightmare in the spring. So in Chad's case, his neighbors have been warned, but clearly they have no idea what they're doing with their in their dog ownership. So this is a very common issue. So many times I've worked with clients that have all the misconceptions about dog ownership and training. So many people, when I tell them that when you train your dog, they should never ever have to go pee or poo in the yard, and that's going to save your grass and it's going to keep you from having to pick it up in the spring. Taking your dog for a walk and for at least half an hour, minimum 15 minutes, twice a day, allows them to exercise their minds and their bodies, and then it also encourages them, being away from their territory, to go to the bathroom there, and then you don't have to worry about it being on your property. And this is something where people are shocked. They're like, oh, well, we just thought that letting him out in the yard was good enough, but it really isn't. And then, of course, in even worse case scenarios where the dogs are left there all the time, to me, it's really cruel. Dogs need to feel safe in boundaries. They need to feel that there's a leader taking care of them, and they also need to feel loved, and that's how you provide love for them, is by providing them with their basic needs. So I was in a similar situation here at our apartments not too long ago. I understand both sides, the frustrated neighbor and also the frustrated owners who just simply don't know what to do. There's a case here at the apartments that I'm living at where a woman had enough with her German Shepherd puppy's lack of house training, and I had met her outside the building. I was taking Spanner out for a walk, and she was standing there with this puppy on a leash, waiting for him to go, and I actually very kindly suggested that he needs to actually go for a walk, take him out, get him moving so that his body is moving, and it allows him to have a bowel movement or any kind of movement a lot easier. And I also suggested kenneling, which also helps with house training, and she ended up buying it from me because we had an extra one from one of the dogs we had. I told her to give me a call if she needed any other advice or help or tips, but I never did get the call from her. One night my husband and I heard a puppy out on someone's balcony, and it was crying for hours, and I thought, it's minus 15 out, and that's not fair, and it was really bothering me listening to this poor puppy crying. And finally we went outside to see which apartment that he was staying at, and then my husband called the RCMP, and they basically told him that they can't do anything and that we needed to contact the bylaw officer or the SPCA. It was around midnight, so they weren't open. So we decided that to go to the apartment and speak to the owners and I would offer help. We went up, and it turned out to be the same woman that I had spoken with. She was at her wit's end. Apparently the puppy had pooped in the house and made a big mess, and she threw him out on the balcony, and it was really an unfortunate situation. Now, I offered to take the puppy, clean him up, and watch him until she could cope again, but she basically turned that down. My husband suggested that she let the puppy go into the kennel from the balcony. We just said, it's too cold, and if you need help, once again, I offered my services, and still to this day I haven't heard from her. But I think there's a widespread lack of knowledge of people who don't realize what a serious commitment it is to take on dog ownership. And it was really sad, and unfortunately the dog suffers the most in the end, and of course the neighbors and the surrounding community. So although I cannot give advice to you, Chad, on how to stop your neighbors from barking, your neighbors' dogs from barking, I can recommend that you take action by contacting the local SPCA, so that maybe they can find homes where the owners can provide the love and the care that these dogs deserve. Thank you for watching this, and I hope it provided some information for people in a similar situation. If you would like to ask me a question, I will definitely get back to you. Post it on my Facebook page, Doghouse Rules, and I will definitely send out a video response. Thank you.